Hey everyone, Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Borla Attack dual rear exit exhaust system with the black chrome tips, fitting 2021 and newer 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150s, excluding the Raptor and Tremor models. If you are looking for the ultimate street exhaust for your 3.5 EcoBoost, Borla's got exactly what you're looking for right here. This Attack system brings a great aggressive sound, superb build quality, and some cool drone canceling technology, and wraps it all up in one neat package. All this makes for an excellent choice for those who really want to wake up their F-150. However, make no mistake, this one is loud. We're gonna give this the full 5 out of 5 on our loudness meter, so it is definitely not for the faint of heart. Borla is huge in the enthusiast community, and they're known for making some of the best exhausts you can buy, especially when it comes to the sound. And their Attack series is the loudest of the bunch. You can certainly tell the difference with this system. The EcoBoost engines don't sound like a whole lot in stock form. You mostly just get some turbo whooshy noises from the engine bay, but not much in the way of exhaust sound. However, as you heard in the clips at the beginning of this video, this exhaust changes the sound completely. It's got a nice little bit of rasp to it, but the tone is deep and aggressive. It puts me in mind of the latest Ford GT or some kind of touring car. It turns the 3.5 from a quiet workhorse into an absolute screamer. And man, it sounds really good. I really like the way that this wakes up the 3.5. Now this is a catback system, so it's gonna take the place of your stock muffler and resonator, replacing it with this small little resonator toward the front of the system. And this is home to some cool tech as well to make sure that you get good sound without the drone. Now first I wanna talk about the Attack name. That name stands for Acoustically Tuned Applied Kinetics, which is Borla's way of saying that they specifically tune each of these exhausts for specific vehicle application. Now they also apply something they call polyphonic harmonizing technology. Now this is essentially the same type of science that goes into tuning pipe organs, so they use different lengths of pipe to control different frequencies, thus eliminating obtrusive or dissonant sounds. Now these trick bits utilize different sizes and diameters of pipe, perforated tube-shaped cores, and they make different patterns to make those frequencies harmonize, so you get that really nice sound with the volume you want with zero drone. And you can see that, hopefully, right in here inside this resonator. Now, so many exhausts might sound good, but they can have pretty terrible drone, and it usually comes right at the place in which you're driving the truck on the highway. And that can really impact the experience of driving your vehicle. Now, I'm sure some of you have experienced a really drony exhaust in the past. In my youth, I know I've had a few, and they certainly can grate on your nerves after a while. But if there's a way to avoid getting that drone and keep the sound quality, I'm sure most of us would go out of our way to do that. It just makes the experience of driving your truck that much more pleasant. So you can enjoy that better exhaust note without having to crank up the radio or yell to have a conversation with your passengers. Now, of course, we have to talk about the tips as well. These are 4-inch dual black chrome tips, and no getting around it here. These look great. It's very much the classic hot rod look, just modernized a little bit, as this again is a dual rear exit setup. And that dark chrome, I think, finishes it off really nicely. Now these rear sections are also designed to perfectly clear the spare tire underneath of your truck, so you don't need to do any modifications or leave your spare tire at home. You can even get a new hanger for the left side of the truck to get everything installed properly. As far as construction goes, again, this is a really high quality system. Borla makes all of their exhausts out of T304 stainless steel, from the extension pipe all the way back to the tips. So everything you see here is T304. It means you're gonna get excellent corrosion and rust resistance, and as you can see, it's just a really nice looking exhaust. The piping here is 3-inch mandrel bent tubing up to the muffler, and then 2¼ inch tubing after this Y right here. So that's gonna take you all the way back to the tips. Now that means the exhaust gases are going to flow smoothly through, which allows your engine to breathe better than your stock system, and it also reduces back pressure, which is really important for a turbocharged engine. As you might expect for something like this, it doesn't come cheap. Expect to pay about $1,600 for this particular setup, which, no getting around it, is a lot of money. However, this is a really high quality system with that excellent drone canceling technology. So if you want the sound, the quality, and the pleasant driving experience, this is going to be a great option for you, provided you're willing to shell out the cash. Installation will come in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you can expect it to take you about 2 hours to complete the job. Now you might need an adapter depending on your cab or bed size, but installation will still be the same process regardless. This is again a totally bolt-on exhaust system that's going to utilize all of your factory hanger locations, with the exception of the one on the rear left, which is included in the kit. so you don't need to modify anything to your truck. Bolting on that extra hanger is really the only other thing you've got to do other than swapping this out for your stock one. So it's a pretty straightforward installation. With that though, let's head on over to the install bay and we'll walk you through the process.
The tools you'll need for this project are an impact gun, a 3/8 ratchet, a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, a short 3/8 extension, a 10, a 13, a 15, and a 24mm socket. Hi everyone, today we're installing an exhaust on our F-150, so let's get started with the uninstall of the stock system. First thing we're going to do is remove the 2 bolts that hold the flange together here at the front of the exhaust system. So to do that, we're going to use our 13mm socket and get those out of the way. Next thing we're going to do is remove the 2 isolators here right in front of the muffler. And to do that, they're each being held on by 2 bolts. So we're going to use our 10mm socket and remove those bolts. Now we'll do the same thing to the second isolator here. Next thing we're going to do is remove this rear isolator behind the axle here. And again, it's got 2 bolts, one on the bottom, one on the side. We're going to use our 10mm socket to remove those. Now at this point, it's a good idea to get yourself a buddy to help lift this out because it's all coming out in one piece. And we've got 1 more bolt to remove on the isolator right at the back of the muffler. So we'll go ahead and take that out. I've got a buddy to help carry it and we'll get this thing out. First thing we're going to do on our install is install the front pipe with the muffler attached to it. And we're going to slide that up to the original front pipe from the vehicle. And reusing the original hardware, we'll go ahead and get this loosely attached. Now, when you install this, you do also want to make sure that the Borla logo is facing so that you can actually read it. We'll slide in our bolt. And we'll just leave them loosely attached for right now while we install the rest of the system. Now at this point, since we removed the isolators with the stock exhaust when we removed it, we need to transfer some of them back so that we can use it on the new system. The ones that we're going to use are this front one here in front of the muffler, the one behind the muffler, and the one in the rear. So you're just going to want to slide these off. Now you may need to use some spray lubricant to help get these off if necessary. Our vehicle's pretty new, so they're coming right off. Now we can go ahead and continue our installing our isolators as we go. Now before we install our second pipe, we're going to go ahead and reinstall our front isolator here. But instead of mounting it the way that it came off, we're going to reverse it so that the isolator is in front of the bracket here. So we'll put it up like this, reuse the original hardware, and tighten it down with our 10mm socket. Now we'll go ahead and slide one of our 3-inch clamps over the end of our mid pipe, slide it into the isolator, and then slide it over the front pipe. Now we can go ahead and snug up our clamp using a 15mm socket. Now we can go ahead and reinstall our isolator in the middle over the cross member. using the original hardware. And then we'll tighten it up with our 10mm socket. Because of the fact that our truck is a Super Crew with a 6.5-foot bed, you will need to get an additional adapter. Now, if you have a Super Crew with a 6.5-foot bed or a Super Cab with an 8-foot bed, you will need to make sure that you acquire another adapter because it does not come in the kit. So we'll go ahead and install this now, and then we can do our over the axle pipe. So we'll slide our clamp over our extender, slide it onto the muffler pipe, and then snug it up with our 15mm socket. All right, now we're going to transfer over our isolator that goes in front of the axle across the cross member under the bed. We'll install another 3-inch clamp. And then we can slide our over the axle pipe over the axle and slide it onto our extension pipe. And now we'll go ahead and secure the isolator to the cross member with the original hardware. Now it's time to go ahead and install the new hangers that are included with the kit. We've got one on the driver's side here where the bumper bolts up, and we've got one for the passenger side as well. So we're going to have to remove the 2 bolts that are vertical on each other on the back of the bumper here, and then we can install our bracket and replace the nuts. So these are the 2 nuts that hold the bumper in that we're going to have to remove, and to do that, we're going to use our 24mm socket. Now we'll put our bracket in place. And the brackets are labeled left and right so you know which one to go on which side. And we'll replace our nuts and then tighten them back down with our 24mm socket. And now you can repeat that process for the other side. Now, the next thing we're going to do is replace this heat shield on this inner brake line here, just to prevent from overheating when the exhaust is run. So in order to install this, what you're going to want to do is grab a hold of the side of the clip and squeeze it together, and then you can lift the hose out. Do the same thing for the other one. All right, now we've got our hose free. We can go ahead and take the backing material off of our adhesive on the heat shield and then wrap it around the hose. And then once you've got it wrapped, go ahead and apply the other end of the tape, and then you can put it back into the clamp. All right, now we're going to slide one of our 2.5-inch clamps over our crossover pipe for the driver's side. We'll slide that over the top, and then we'll insert it into the left side pipe coming over the axle. Push that up until it seats, and then we'll snug it up with our 15mm socket. Now we can slide our rubber isolator onto our hanger on the tailpipe. And then we'll slide one of our 2.5-inch clamps over the end of the tailpipe. And we'll hang this up on the hanger bracket that we already installed earlier. And now we can insert the tailpipe into the crossover pipe that we just installed. Now we'll snug that up with our 15mm socket. Now we can go ahead and install the rubber isolator on our passenger side tailpipe. Install one of our 2.5-inch clamps over the end. Slide our isolator over the bracket that we installed earlier. And then insert the over the axle pipe into the tailpipe. And then we'll snug it down with our 15mm socket. Now that we've got our system completely installed, we can go through, check all of our clearances, make sure there's no interference with any hoses or wires or frames or suspension or anything like that. And then starting from the front, once you're satisfied with the way it looks, start tightening everything down to manufactured recommended torque specs. Now, once you do that, before you fire it up, I do suggest that you get some rubbing alcohol and a clean cloth and give the entire system a good wipe down, especially any of the polished pieces, because that will prevent any oil or dirt from burning into the system once you do heat it up. And that wraps up our review and install of the Borla Attack dual exhaust system with black chrome tips and rear exit for your 21 and newer 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150, excluding Raptor and Tremor. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.